al-Infitaar. This is where we've reached. We started from Surah Al-Nas, and we went up to Surah Al-Infitaar, covering all the surahs. And the way we do this is that we look at the words that are familiar, and we write the new words. If a word is not new, but kind of like forgotten, we still write it down on the side. Bismillah. So even if you don't have the booklet, you can still follow along. Inshallah, there'll be benefit. Inshallah. إذا السماء انفطرت. إذا, we've seen this word many times. When. السماء, a few times, sky. Not too many times. السماء, the sky. انفطرت is new, but it's made of 3 letters that we are very familiar with. What are other words that have the same 3 letters? Which 3 letters first? Fatara. So what are other words we know? Fatir, okay, that's one of the names of Allah. What else relating to Ramadan? Iftar, yes. And Eid al-Fitr, yes. So it's an interesting connection between Futur, which is to break the fast, and Fitra, which is the fitra, the natural disposition of the human being. The root meaning is break, or crack. Break, stop. So the sky breaks apart. A lot of translations will say, when the sky is cleft asunder, or rent asunder. Basically, the sky is broken apart, or falls apart. وَإِذَا الْكَوَاكِبُ. This is a word you won't see anywhere else in the Quran, I think. Planets. Or others say just objects in space. Intatharat, I think this word comes maybe once or twice in the rest of the Quran. Collide or crash into each other. So Allah is describing a few things about the Day of Judgment. The Messenger said, Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, whoever wants to be reminded or have an idea what the Day of Judgment is like, he should recite these 3 surahs. Takwir, al-Infitaar, and al-Inshiqaq.
What is Kawakib?
Planets, or objects in space. Now we're getting into some of the bold words. So just to mention for those who weren't here before, bold words means that they're going to be repeated in the short surahs. 3, 4, 5 times you'll find that word in Juz Amma. Highlighted words, with the gray highlighted, that means it's very common. You'll find this word many times in different forms in Juz Amma. So al-Bihar, have we seen Bihar already? I don't think so. This is the first time we're seeing Bihar. So the oceans or the seas. Turn on the pen. I don't know which color I was using.
Blue, make it blue. Where is always looking blue?
Say it again.
Blue.
Blue?
Light blue.
Light blue. That's fine. Light blue. Yeah, but I'm not going to change the color for every word. That's good. We could do Surah Al-Infitaar in light blue. This is just amazing. Okay. Fujjirat. What is this word? What are other words we know like it? Fajr. Fajr is
Dawn.
the daybreak. What are other words? If you go right across the page. Did I spell this right? Fujjar. Later in the surah? Where is it? Fujjar or Fujjar? Here. And it's also across the page. Kalla inna kitab al-Fujjar. And Allah talks about the same concept in Surah Al-Shams. The Fujjar are the people who have something. Instead of taqwa, they have something else. What did they have instead of taqwa? No, but what's the Arabic word? وَنَفْسٍ وَمَا سَوَّاهَا فَأَلْهَمَهَا فُجُورَهَا. Okay, so we have Fajr, which is the daybreak. And then we have these people, they're fujjar. Here in this surah, fujjar is the opposite of abrar, which is good people. And that's also in Surah Al-Mutaffifin across the page. And then fujur is the opposite of taqwa. So fujur is something negative, something bad. What about the oceans? On the Day of Judgment, the oceans, fujjarat. So the root meaning of fa, ja, ra is burst open. So the fajr is that light that first bursts out of the darkness. I heard that if you're in complete countryside or on the ocean and there's no light other than natural light, you can actually see at the moment of fajr, you can actually see the light as if it's bursting out and spreading over the horizon. As if like it's a cloak on the horizon and then a piece of it is lifted and the light spreads to the sides. Allahu A'lam. So the first burst of light. And then for people, the opposite of taqwa is impulsive, careless, bursting behavior, carelessness. Whatever, what do they call it? Instant gratification. Doing whatever you feel like doing. Instead of being mindful of, whatever you might be mindful of. Health, taqwa, not harming others, things like that. So fujur is the opposite, is somebody who's careless. And for the oceans, well, Allahu A'lam. The oceans are going to burst on the Day of Judgment. So some say they'll turn into fire. Some say they'll start boiling or exploding. And then, if we look over here, I believe al-Takwir or al-Infitaar, one of the two, gives us a little more information. This is the Tajweed Mus'haf. We use it every so often because there's comments on the side. They call it tafsir. Tafsir wa bayan. Explanation and clarification of the words. And yes, fasarat, so shukkiqat, meaning they're cracked. The oceans are cracked, okay, or broken apart. Bahran wahida. What does that mean? One. So the oceans are exploded or bursting and something like this, and they become like one ocean. So this is a tafsir they have. Fujjarat. So we're not going to write anything for that. وَإِذَا الْقُبُورُ بُعْثِرَتْ. We've seen these words already. And when qubur, the graves, بُعْثِرَتْ is like Surah Al-Adiyat, and I think that might be the only two places this word comes. That's why it's not highlighted or bold. Al-Adiyat, فَلَا يَعْلَمُ إِذَا بُعْثِرَ مَا فِي الْقُبُورِ. So this is the concept of the graves. Things are thrown out of the grave, like as if the grave is taken and shaken and exploded and turned upside down and everything is thrown out and scattered all around. Thoroughly emptied. When the graves are, everything inside is thrown out and about. Or the graves are scattered, you could say. عَلِمَتْ نَفْسٌ مَا قَدَّمَتْ وَأَخَّرَتْ. We've done this many times, but it never gets old. When you have a verb, the word with the u sound at the end, after the verb, is the one doing it. So nafsun is the one doing alimat. And alimat comes from ilm. Ilm is knowledge. So nafsun alimat. It could have been the soul, but it has a un at the end, which makes it a soul. Maybe some of you know this already. Al-bayt, the house. Baytun, a house. So this is literally a soul will know. Or actually not just will know. Alimat is the past tense. A soul has known. When all of this happens, then a soul has known or has come to know. What this means is every single soul. Take any soul will know. Doesn't matter who you are, everybody will know. Ma, what's the ma? We've seen ma many times.
Whatever.
Ma, what or whatever. A soul will know, any soul will know what? قدمت. We have to go to Surah Al-Fajr. What's the word like قدمت in Surah Al-Fajr? يقول يا ليتني قدمت لحياتي. So what does that mean? This insan, يومئذ, on that day, يتذكر, You'll start thinking, trying to remember. But what's the point of remembering? يقول, he will say, what is he going to say? يا ليتني قدمت لحياتي. I wish I had done something forward for my life. I like to translate this as done ahead. I wish I had done something for my life ahead. You could put the word ahead at the end. قدم is to put something ahead of other things. I wish I had put something for my life ahead, or put something ahead for my life. What do they call it in the finance world? When you put something ahead? An investment. You put money and then you hope that it's going to turn into something bigger in the, later on, right? Investment. So I wish I had invested, you could even translate. I wish I had invested for my life. But we understand this is the Day of Judgment, so his life, meaning this person basically realizes that the dunya was nothing. His real life is what comes next after the dunya. So he's like, I wish I had done something for my life ahead. The real life, the life ahead, not the life of the dunya. Subhanallah. So qaddama, put something for what's ahead. Do something for what's ahead. Every soul will know what it had invested or put for what's ahead, put ahead, brought forward. وَأَخَرَتْ is the opposite. So we could write brought forward. أخرت is the opposite. So what would that be? Put back? Put back or delay? Put back or put off, Put off something to till later? Yes. Or, left behind. Put it back, put it at the end, on the back burner, they say. Left behind, or, what was the other one? Delayed. Yes. So the priorities in life, everybody on the Day of Judgment is going to realize, not just, to some extent, everybody knows what they did in their life. So when Allah says a soul will know, Allah doesn't mean just that they will know what they did. They will realize the outcome of what they did. They will get to know the consequences and the outcome of what they did. So in this dunya, we pray salah, we give zakah, we fast Ramadan and a few extra days. We do all these things. We know that there's going to be something. Well, on the Day of Judgment, the soul will know for real. You will know exactly what you brought for yourself. Everybody will know exactly what they brought for themselves. So, and they will realize all the investments that were worth it because they see the outcome on the Day of Judgment versus all the things that were left behind in the dunya. All the investments that, were left behind. And there's two ways to understand this. You could look at it from, like we just said, there's some things that you did for the akhirah, move forward, and other things that you did only for the dunya and they stayed back. But the other understanding is that when you give priority to something, you give it priority, you put it in front of other things, it's more important to you, and then other things that you put on the back burner. So a person who didn't do anything for the hereafter, their priorities were the wrong ones. And they had put behind their back, or they had ignored, they had delayed doing good deeds that would help them in the hereafter. So a soul, on the Day of Judgment, every soul, anybody, everybody, is going to realize what life was really about. They're going to realize that everything in the dunya was temporary, and the real life is the abode of the hereafter. يا أيها الإنسان ما غرك بربك الكريم. So after giving us this two-line picture of, on the Day of Judgment, you'll realize how worthless this dunya is, how much you should invest for the hereafter. You will realize when it comes. Now Allah speaks to the human being now. ما غرك بربك الكريم. O human being, ما? What? غرك. This is not, it's not a rare word, it's just not repeated in the short surahs. Juz' doesn't have غرة again. I think the next time if you go up to surahs, you see it as Surah Al-Hadid. I think. So غرة, they say, means deceive. And spell it like this. What has deceived you? EI? Deceived? I think so. What has deceived you? Be about, or in literally it would mean with, but here غرك goes with be. So what has deceived you? غر is deceive, ka you. What has deceived you about your Rabb al-Kareem? The translation I like for this word, actually, before that. Anybody know the word Kareem already? Generous?
Yeah.
Yes. Allah is Kareem, right? Ramadan is Kareem, or you wish people to have a Ramadan Kareem. The Quran is Kareem. So a word that works in every scenario, every context, is full of goodness. I think it was Abdul Halim translation that had this word, full of goodness. I don't remember. One of the translations I read, full of goodness. Oh, I like this one. It works in every situation. May you have a Ramadan full of goodness. The Quran is full of goodness. Allah is full of goodness for people. So what has deceived you regarding your Lord? Full of goodness. And just for the grammar detail here, the word Rabbika is definite. That's what they call it in English. It's ma'rifa. Because it has the pronoun attached to it, it's not generic, it's specific. Your Lord. And so the adjective that goes with it, Kareem, has to also be specific by adding the al in front. Every time you describe a noun that has a pronoun attached to it, the adjective has to have al because it's definite, ma'rifa. So Rabbika al-Kareem. What has deceived you about your Lord full of goodness? Like, what has made you think that He's not full of goodness? What has made you forget how Allah is full of goodness? What has made you despair of Allah's goodness and generosity? What made you think that He was not going to be there for you? مَا غَرَّكَ بِرَبِّكَ الْكَرِيمِ. It's a beautiful way to phrase it. رَبِّكَ الْكَرِيمِ. Your Lord is Kareem no matter what. You lost track of it. You lost track of the fact that He's Kareem. You didn't realize what kind of Lord you have, what kind of Rabb you have. You lost track of the fact He was Kareem. How? How did you lose track? SubhanAllah. So then Allah reminds us of a few things He did. الَّذِي خَلَقَكَ. الَّذِي, the one who خَلَقَكَ, created you. فَسَوَّاكَ. We had this word a few times already. وَنَفْسٍ وَمَا سَوَّاهَا. And what was the other one? خَلَقَ الَّذِي خَلَقَ فَسَوَّى وَالَّذِي قَدَّرَ فَهَدَى. Surah Al-A'la. Allah is so perfect in the way He created. He created everything. سَوَّى. Anybody remember the dunya way to describe سَوَّى? Like the modern day Arabic use of سَوَّى? When somebody puts things in order, like make your room tidy, put everything in the proper place where it needs to be.
Organized.
So, not just organized, but really nice and tidy. So that shelf over there is not sawwa. This one is kind of. Sawwa, put everything perfectly where it needs to be.
Order.
In proper order. So He created you, and He perfectly shaped you or balanced you, made you in proper proportion. Everything about your creation is perfect. Not just physically, but also emotions, feelings, all these metaphysical aspects of our being, all of them. Allah balanced them perfectly. فَعَدَلَكَ. Adl is to make things fair, to make things even. So it's the word used for justice. When the justice, they have the symbol of the scale like this. So that's adl, fairness. So it's two ways basically. Sawa and adl is both ways to explain that Allah made our creation very balanced, very appropriate, and perfectly measured, perfectly balanced. في أي صورة ما شاء ركبك. It's an interesting phrase. In أي, anybody know أي? If you have the reference card, oh, it's right there. أي is on number 3 of the reference card. Which? Yeah. Yes. Any is when it's a negation or a question. I mean, no, it's for negation. أي for a negation means any, like not any. For just a statement, it's which. So, in which surah, Urdu speakers, I think, tasweer.
Face.
What's tasweer?
Tasweer.
Shape, picture.
Shape,
Yes.
Picture.
So, in which surah, not surah of the Quran is a scene.
Scene.
Surah with a sad is a picture,
Picture.
a shape. In which shape, ma sha'a, whatever he wanted. So, which, whatever, you could combine the two. In whichever shape he wanted, he rakkabak. Anybody know rakab? لتركبن طبقا عن طبقة also. It's not a very common word.
It's coming from rakab. Rakab means
Rikab.
Rakab is you can say in the car when you are sitting, that is the rakab.
Rikab, when you're riding the car.
Yeah,
And rikab in the Quran is for the camels that people used to ride. So rakaba, markab, is something to ride. Okay, but now with ashadda, put you together. As if, what do we say in the ruku'? وما استقل عليه قدمي. What's the dua in the ruku'? اللهم لك ركعت وبك آمنت ولك أسلمت وخشع لك سمعي وبصري ومخي وعصبي وما استقل عليه قدمي. You say, Ya Allah, I am doing khushu' to you. My hearing and my eyes, or my sight, and my brain, and my nerves are all doing khushu', and whatever my feet carry, whatever is being carried by my feet, all of it is doing khushu' to you, Ya Allah. So these phrases, rakkabak, Allah put you together as if, like, your body parts are riding the rest of your body. That's the connection. You know? Rakab is to ride. Markab is something that you ride. So rakkabak, Allah put you together, like Lego pieces. They're put on top of each other. And they're together. They ride together.
Your whole body is riding on your feet.
Your whole body is riding on your feet.
Yeah.
So Allah rakkabak, Allah made you like this, that you know, movement is possible. In whichever shape He wanted, He put you together. Kalla, no. And this is they say nay in the translation. No. بل تكذبون بالدين. Bel is a word used to oppose two things.
Yeah.
You should not be distracted. You should know your Lord is Kareem. Look at what He did for you. But the reality is instead تكذبون بالدين. When people don't realize who Allah is because they don't realize about the beginning of the surah. We said many times in the short surahs, Deen, like in Fatiha, Yawm al-Deen, doesn't just mean religion. The word Deen in Arabic and Deen for our religion is not just a religion. That's what, Sunday school or Islam 101 for converts. What do they learn? Or even before they become Muslim. Islam is not just a religion. It is a way of life. So Deen is a way of life. And Deen is something you will be held accountable for. That's where the word ayat dain, what's it called? Debt, when you owe somebody something, comes from the same word. So your way of life is what you owe Allah. And when? On the day of Deen. The day where you will be judged based on how you lived your life. You're being judged on your way of life. The way you lived your life is the subject of the judgment. So that's the connection between all of this. So when Allah says you deny Deen, like in Surah Al-Ma'un, أَرَأَيْتَ الَّذِي يُكَذِّبُ بِالدِّينِ, it doesn't translate as the one who denies religion. It means the one who denies that there is any way of life to follow that you will be held accountable for. That you owe Allah because of how Kareem He is and everything He did for you. So the reason people don't realize who Allah is, the reason people despair, the reason people have negative thoughts about Allah, the reason people lose sight of the fact that He is Kareem is because they think this dunya is all there. They don't think there's any accountability. They don't think there's any purpose for us being here and any follow-up after that. And Allah makes this connection many times in the Quran. Not worshipping Allah, not understanding Allah, not connecting to Allah, and perceiving that this life is all there is. These two things are all very strongly connected together in the Quran. بَلْ تُكَذِّبُونَ بِالدِّينِ. You deny the religion or accountability. وَإِنَّ عَلَيْكُمْ حَافِظِينَ. How come? This wa connects the two sentences. You deny that you're going to be held accountable, even though إِنَّ عَلَيْكُمْ لَحَافِظِينَ. That's what the wa does. It's the wa for connection. I don't remember what it's called in Arabic. I think wa haliya. While you have, or it doesn't say you have, but alaykum. What's alaykum? On you. So it implies you have upon you. Hafidhin. What's the word like it? Was it the same? I think it might be the same. Yeah, I think it's the same as what Yep. Hafidhin. وَمَا أُرْسِلُوا عَلَيْهِمْ حَافِظِينَ. So what was it? And also here in Surah Al-Tariq. إِن كُلُّ نَفْسٍ لَمَّا عَلَيْهَا حَافِظ. حَافِظِين. Protector, guardian. In English they say the guardian angel. So upon you are guardians. So a hafidh is a guardian of the Quran. Or a hafidh is protected by the Quran. Protects the Quran and is protected by the Quran. So who are these guardians? Kiraman. It's a new form of the same word. Kareem, kiram. Kareem is the singular, kiram is the plural. So these guardians are full of goodness, or they're noble, generous. Katibin. Scribes, people who write. So who are these? These are angels. Upon you are writing angels. Noble writing angels. What about them? يَعْلَمُونَ مَا تَفْعَلُونَ. Let's bring it back to this one. Which word does يَعْلَمُونَ match? On the screen now. يَعْلَمُونَ. يَعْلَمُونَ تَفْعَلُونَ. يَعْلَمُونَ matches يَعْبُدُونَ. So they. The he 3+ means they. I know it's kind of like what's it called? Cryptic language. So when we did the first few surahs, we used this chart all over and over again. So here it was the he, she, you with the 1, 2, 3, but then it said what it means in English. Now that we've done many surahs, this chart, it doesn't spell out what it means, but it's self-explanatory. 3+ for the he means they. Ya'budun means they worship. So here, ya'lamun, they
know it.
They know. Ma taf'alun. Which word does taf'alun match? Ta'budun. So that makes it you, 3+. They know what you do. Ya'lamuna ma taf'alun. They know what you do. So these are scribes writing down everything that happens in life. So how could you, number one, not realize how much Allah gave you in this world? And number two, how could you think that there's no accountability? There's nothing, like you're here for no purpose, nobody's gonna follow up. There's gonna be no follow-up. After such a perfect creation, after such, you could say effort, after such precision was put into your creation, all of that for nothing? Like if somebody does a very sloppy job and then sells the shoes for a dime, well, they did a sloppy job, so they don't care about the shoe too much. But if somebody spends hours and hours and hours making the shoes, then it has value. They're not just going to leave it aside. So the intricacy of our creation shows that we're here for a reason. And on top of that, Allah made us, Allah gave us signs throughout our life that nothing happens for no reason. When you do something wrong, things happen. SubhanAllah. And Muslims, non-Muslims, believer, non-believers, everybody gets those types of signs. It's up to you to recognize them. Allah has given us signs that we're not here for no reason. In the way He created us, and in the way things happen because we're being followed up, or Allah follows up with what He created. He assigned angels to follow up and write down and make note, and they know everything that you do. So, since they know everything you do, Allah now zooms back into the Day of Judgment and gives us what's going to happen at the end. إِنَّ الْأَبْرَارَ لَفِي نَعِيمٍ. We had the very same ayah a few weeks ago when we did the Mutaffifin. Indeed, Abrar, anybody remember?
Good people.
Good people. لَفِي نَعِيمٍ. This lam, lafi, is for emphasis. إِنَّ الْإِنسَانَ لَفِي خُسْرٍ. Indeed, human beings are deep in loss. Lafi. Or إِنَّ الْإِنسَانَ لِرَبِّهِ لَكَنُودٍ. Indeed, the human being is so disloyal. No matter what word you use in English for emphasis, that's la, lafi. Indeed, the righteous will be in na'im. Literally means blessings, but it's like one of the titles of Jannah is na'im, Jannat and na'im. So the righteous people, the good people, will definitely be in the most blessed place, Jannah. وَإِنَّ الْفُجَّارِ, the people of fujur, the people of bursting behavior, they are definitely going to be in Jahim. Literally a blaze, blazing fire. يَصْلَوْنَهَا يَوْمَ الدِّينِ. When we first met this word, yaslaun or yasla, I mentioned that this word always comes in the same sentence as fire, nar, jahim, jahannam, one of these words. Otherwise, it means salah, performing salah, right? But yasla, when it comes as a verb, it means, it doesn't actually have a specific translation. Burn in the fire, put to the flame of the fire, thrown in the fire, enter the fire. Whatever you translate it as, that's yasla. I'm saying this because you could say thrown in the fire, but there's another word in Arabic for throw. You could say enter the fire, but there's another word in Arabic for enter. You could say burn in the fire, but there's another word in Arabic for burn. Whatever you choose in English for yasla, there's going to be another word for that in Arabic. Yasla is specific to the hellfire. Enter or burn or throw into the hellfire. Yawm ad-Din, on the day of that day that they were denying, the day that they're going to be held accountable, the day of judgment, the day of religion, the day of way of life. And subhanallah, this is very relevant for for school kids. وَمَا هُمْ عَنْهَا بِغَائِبِينَ. Sometimes students have this perception that on the day of the toughest test, they'll just be absent that day. You'll get the makeup tests, it'll be easier. So some people might perceive, it's okay, that people are going to be held accountable, but we can find a way out. We can, call it, we can, what's it called? Take the day off that day. We can be absent. No. وَمَا هُمْ عَنْهَا بِغَائِبِينَ. They're not going to be absent from it. So ghaib literally comes from ghaib, which is the unseen. They're not going to be unseen in it. Absent. So you have to put the context of the Quran, like the revelation of the Quran. The Messenger ﷺ is saying this to people who are listening to him. And many places, almost every surah, will say things that, Allah could have said this here or any other surah. The context is for the people he's speaking to. We have to imagine that at some point, the Messenger, when he recited this, ﷺ, somebody in the audience heard him talk about Day of Judgment, He's like, no, the people like Abu Jahl. I know too many people. I'll be safe. I'll have my, idols or whatever it is. I'll have my people to protect me. I'll be able to get away from any, I don't get in trouble. I always have ways of getting out of trouble. Now, people who are hearing this might not have, the thought might have not fully built in their mind, but the ayah addresses it. وَمَا هُمْ عَنْهَا بِغَائِبِينَ. If anybody has that type of thinking as they're listening to this, Allah addresses it on the spot. SubhanAllah. So imagine the fact that the Quran was live. It was recited live. It was relevant to the current situations that the people were facing or were in, and it addressed their thought process at that moment, in the moment. SubhanAllah. So Allah, as a result, the Quran, you could say, for any passage of the Quran is not thorough. in the sense that it doesn't address all the different mindsets that a person might have. The complete package of the Quran will discuss any mindset that a person might have about the Day of Judgment. But each surah will only take one or two because it's a surah. It's meant to be delivered in a public setting, like a khutbah. You can't go through every single aspect of whatever the subject you're presenting in the khutbah because it's a khutbah. You just have 15, 20 minutes and that's it. So the Quran is the same way. The whole package of it as a whole will have it will address any thought process, any mindset a person may have. But how will it address it? Piece by piece. One piece here, one piece here, one piece here. So here, Allah is addressing the person who thinks he can get away. He won't be absent. They won't be absent from it. No one will be absent from it. وَمَا أَدْرَاكَ مَا يَوْمُ الدِّينِ ثُمَّ مَا أَدْرَاكَ مَا يَوْمُ الدِّينِ. If a person does think that they can, get away with it, or get away with whatever they did, do you really realize? Like the person is half listening. They're walking by. They're hearing the Prophet ﷺ discuss this about the Day of Judgment. Oh, yeah, whatever, I can get away with. I've gotten away with a lot of things. I'll be able to get away with this also. I'll be able to get away. And they're hearing this in passing. Like Allah is like holding their arm. Do you really realize what this is? وَمَا أَدْرَاكَ مَا يَوْمُ الدِّينِ. Like you're just passing by it and thinking nothing of it. Do you actually realize? No. Do you actually realize? Like a person might say in their mind, when they hear this, Day of Judgment, whatever, I'll get away with it. They won't be absent from it. No, I've always been able to find a way out. Do you really have any idea what the Day of Judgment is like? Yeah, whatever. No. Do you really have an idea? You can imagine this is a conversation going on with the thought of the person listening. SubhanAllah. Do you really know? Do you really have any idea what it's like? So then Allah brings it home. يَوْمَ لَا تَمْلِكُ نَفْسٌ لِنَفْسٍ شَيْئًا. What did I say about a verb and a word with a dhamma at the end? The word with a dhamma is the one doing it. So here, لَا تَمْلِكُ. No authority. No ability. No ability, no authority. The day that a soul will have no authority, no ability, no power, li nafsin, for another soul, shay'an, thing. So la shay'an, nothing. The day that no soul will have the ability to do anything whatsoever for another soul. Or the day that a soul will have the ability to do absolutely nothing for another soul. Depending on how you combine the words in English. So these people who think they can get away, people who always get away with things, is because they're connections. But on that day, no one, not a single soul will be able to do anything for any other soul. Because al-amru yawma'idin lillah. Al-amru usually translates as amr? Command, yes. But one translation, I don't remember which one was it that I read, rulership. Al-amru. Al-amru, like the concept of command, rulership, the ability to command, the ability to rule. All of it belongs to Allah that day. So that goes back to the very beginning of the surah. مَا غَرَّكَ بِرَبِّكَ الْكَرِيمِ. What has deceived you? What has made you think that Allah is not Kareem? Everything belongs to Him. Who do you think Allah is? This whole surah. Who do you think Allah is? Who do you think Allah is that He created you in such a intricate way, and then He's going to leave you with no consequence? Who do you think you're dealing with? SubhanAllah. Allahu Akbar. Any question?
Did we miss this last part of the Surah Mutaffifin?
Mutaffifin?
Last part.
Yes and no. I didn't write anything because we stopped early, but then last week
we came at 7 o'clock
I discussed
class.
Yeah, no, after Aisha. Last week after Aisha, I discussed this last part of Surah Al-Mutaffifin. It's on YouTube, you can watch it on YouTube. Yeah.
The word does it mean like a way of life, or does it mean that you are supposed to repay back Allah, like this is a debt by living
Yeah,
that way
the
of
sense
life?
of debt. Yeah.
So it's like you're repaying that debt by living that life.
By living that life. Yeah. The root of it, dain, when you owe something. So it's connected, yeah. Repaying Allah for what He's given you, repaying in the way that you live your life.
The day will be coming that you will be accountable.
You'll be held accountable. What are you going to be held accountable for? The way you lived your life, based on what Allah had given you, that you owe Him to do something. You'll be asked. Every single blessing, you'll be asked about it. This is something that Allah has given you because you need to do something. Allah give us tawfiq.
وما هم عنها بغائبين. The ha, is this ha for like the suffix here, is this for female?
That's actually my mistake. I should have said it more clearly when we did it. Jahim is the female. So in Arabic, everything has to be either a he or she. The moon is a he, the sun is a she, the earth is a she, the table is a she, a computer is a he. Every word in Arabic has to be a he or she. Other languages have this also. In English, you have the it. So literally, we should translate this as it. They will not be absent from it. But what is it? It is jahim. And so most of the words that are feminine in the Quran, they have a tamabuta at the end. Some don't, like jahim. Now, some of the basic ones, they don't have the tamabuta at the end. It's like a list of maybe 20 Arabic words that are in the Quran. They don't have a tamabuta, but they are feminine. You have the sun, you have the earth, you have the sky, fire, and a few other words like this. Good question. Yeah.
The word fatara on its own, does it mean to create or to originate?
That's a good question.
Here's how we got to destruction.
Yeah, so it's iftar is when you break your fast. The translation you read here is the sky will break apart, right? What's the connection between that and the fitrah and the fact that Allah created or originated? Allahu A'lam. Many times there's a person on the YouTube channel makes comments about the deep roots of the word and how they're connected. So maybe they might make a comment on that one. Alhamdulillah. I'm a very surface level person. Like I want to know what the gist is, and then whatever I read in the translation, okay, it means break, I'll take it. It means break. Alhamdulillah. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك.